This is the third event I've done for the new book, The Gay Divorcee. It's not the official launch. The official launch was about 3 weeks ago, but it's the biggest event I've done for it, and it was the broadest audience. So the great thing about doing stuff at the Literature Festival is even when you're doing events that are quote unquote gay themed, you get a lot of people coming who are quote unquote not gay. So for me that's very exciting to have an audience that's full of people of all persuasions, both genders, all backgrounds, all ages, very mixed. It's very easy when you're a gay writer to read in gay bookshops all the time and to assume that is who your reading public is, and actually it isn't. Your public is much bigger than that, and especially since the internet. You know, I know from the emails and the comments I get through Facebook and MySpace and so on that the readers that read my books are by no means only gay men who fit my kind of profile, do you know what I mean? So to actually see that embodied live before you is very exciting as an author. And I used to not particularly enjoy public readings. I used to be one of those people that wrote because I'd rather write in private than actually perform in public. And I've realised over the years that part of being a writer is having to perform in public nowadays. You have to. So I've had to get over the fear of that. And being here has been, I mean, this is our second year here. So we've been doing events both at the Literature Festival and throughout the year since last July 2008. So over the course of a year, you kind of learn a lot about how to deal with an audience, and that's very encouraging. It's very it gives you a lot of food for thought, and it gives you a lot of enthusiasm for what you're doing, because each time you're having to present the material, you find new ways of presenting it, and you almost start editing yourself. So you almost start seeing how I would rewrite this book a year from now, because no book, in my mind, no book is ever really complete. You know, it's complete when a publisher says it's complete and they publish it. But of course, if it was complete, you would never need to write another book. You write the next book because you're never totally satisfied with the one you've written. And the day you're completely satisfied is the day you stop writing. And for me, that day will never come. And so doing these kind of events when you get an audience and you see their reaction, you feel their reaction, you get the questions, you get the feedback, you get the chat in the bar, you get people coming up to you to ask you to sign the book and ask you questions. To me, that's a huge part of what being an author is these days. You know, and festivals like this are so important for that, because otherwise you're just writing in isolation and obsessively looking at your ranking figures on Amazon. Well, this evening was about gay love and marriage. I mean, I was the programmer for this particular event, and I chose that theme because my book is called The Gay Divorcee. It's about a gay man who's about to get civilly partnered, and you discover very early in the story that he was previously married to a woman. So there's a dilemma there, which is that he never got divorced, because as a gay man in the late 80s, who would have thought you'd ever get married again? Certainly not to a man. So he never got divorced. So that's the kind of twist of the story, as it were. So it's a tale of two marriages, one with the same man, one to a woman, one to a man. So when it came to planning an event, I thought, well, we need to expand this to the general theme of gay love and marriage. So we had a lesbian author reading from a novel called The Dovecote, Stephanie Dumler. Fantastic novelist, first novel, fantastic novelist, published by Only Women Press, which is a very small women-only press, independent press. Wonderful book about a lesbian relationship that takes place many years ago, before we had any of these opportunities and rights. Then we had Marian Husband, who is a heterosexual writer who wrote a very beautiful book called The Boy I Love, about a gay relationship. So we have a straight woman's sort of perspective on gay love, as it were. And then we had me, and I was hosting the event, so I was sort of coming in and out, back and forth during the show. And for the last part of the show, I decided that I should... I'm sitting on a chair at the moment, which is very Christine Keeler. And when my novel came out, I was on the cover of Boys magazine, which is a very popular gay free sheet. And in order to be on the cover of a magazine like that, you need to do something a bit saucy. So I was sitting on a chair like this, but apparently with no clothes on. Of course, I did really have something on, but it looked like I was naked. So tonight, I reenacted that on stage. Still can't believe I did it, but I did. So I came back on after the second author wearing my suit with a dog collar with Velcro on the back, with black hanging down, and then read the first bit of my reading, which is the first wedding in the book, which is the straight wedding, which ends with them dancing to The Lady in Red by Krista Berg. I then had the music played. While the music was playing, I suddenly felt this urge to take my clothes off because Krista Berg does that to me. And I then did the second half of my reading, sitting on a chair like this, but without my shirt on and without my trousers on. Very literary. Very, very literary. I think that's the great thing about the festival here. When we started here last year as the House of Homosexual Culture, our very first event that we did was in St Paul's Pavilion, and it was called Dirty Books, and it was a celebration of how, as gay readers, we often go searching for gay sex in books, and we discover gay literature. So, for example, you go looking for porn, and you discover John Recchi, Jean Genet, great literary writers. And the evening was a celebration of that. But being us, we decided that we couldn't just have these books being read. We had to actually have some, flesh. So we opened with a female burlesque performer who came on dressed as Alice in Wonderland, drank the drink, ate the cake, and suddenly realised that she was a stripper and took all her clothes off. And then after we'd had the authors, we then ended with two male strippers who came on and did the full Monty. So we very quickly became known as the men who put the cock in the festival hall, for which I'm eternally proud. We will be coming back next year, yes. I mean, we did 3 events last year. We're doing 4 events this year. I would hope we'll be doing. I also run a gay literary salon called Polari, which has been running for 2 years now, which has grown at a huge rate in Soho. I'm moving that here in September as well. So by this time next year, I think there'll be a much stronger queer literary presence at the Southbank. So I would imagine that by next year, our presence at the Literature Festival will be bigger even than it is now, which is fantastic, for us and for the audience. I think it's great for the audience. I think the audience is. I go and do readings in little libraries in remote places like Folkestone, where there were 3 gay people in the village, but there's 20 people in the audience. It's not just gay people who are interested in these stories. It's people. I read Jane Austen. I read books by all kinds of authors and all kinds of backgrounds. I don't think that gay stories are limited to gay readers, and I think that the more opportunities there are for gay programmers and gay authors to perform and program at events like this, the more it proves that point. You attract a much wider audience than one would expect. Obviously, Krista Berg has a very queer effect on me, and this is what happens. I'm sorry. Okay, we now fast forward to the present day, and Carl, who is Phil's best man, has just learned of what you've just learned. The prologue. Now, did you want to have a serious chat or not?